Spam in the chat.
Spam
G in the chat, just like at 30 hours. Anyway, hello and welcome to your weekly dose of mayhem, the only show where the mics work every episode without fail.
Definitely. Yes.
Ruckus.
Ruckus was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun. You didn't go.
I didn't go. I had work, man. Come on.
I did too. I just didn't do it.
Well, I mean, how was Ruckus, though?
I'm gonna say, so we had a meeting, a whole school meeting today. I'm gonna say the same thing I did there. Had a scrimmage in Rochester last week and took home the 3rd place W. Who's knocking at the door? You should go check that out.
I'll check. You talk more about Ruckus.
Anyway, as you saw in the last episode, we built a completely new robot for Ruckus, and surprisingly, it worked. Which is something I haven't really experienced. Who was it? Oh, it's Mr. Hiller. Hi, Mr. Hiller. So yeah, surprisingly, it worked. We were a fast little cube shooter, and we switched drive teams every other match.
Switch
So-
drivetrain.
No, we didn't switch drive trains. That would have been hard. A lot of re-inspecting. They actually didn't inspect us at Ruckus.
Really?
Mhm.
Is that just a thing that they don't do enough?
No, last year they did.
That's
I
weird.
think. I don't know. They said you don't need to get inspected, and I was like, okay, because our cell was totally in frame perimeter.
They could just tell.
They
just knew.
They just knew. Anyway, so we switched drive teams every other match. It was me and Brady, like you saw in last episode, and then James and Anthony. Our first 3 matches went very well. We won the first 3, lost the second 3. At the end, at lunchtime, we were in 4th place, so we would have been picking. And then we got an unlucky streak, and we got booted down to 21st. I'm looking at Blue Alliance right now. In retrospect, a lot of these matches that we actually lost were very close. 84 to 95, not that one. And then 117 to 100.
So I was like sort of looking from at home while you guys were doing it. I think you had like 3 good matches in series, and then you had like 3 that you lost.
Not as good matches in series.
Yeah.
There was there was one match where we played against the team that I think ended up winning, and that match was like 120 to 60. So
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun at Ruckus. By the time Alliance selection came around, we were in 21st. We were the second pick of the second place Alliance. Our first match in semifinals went incredibly. Everyone on our Alliance was lovely. We worked really well together. Our role was really just to be the cube bot. We just needed to fill up that bottom row and get those links, which we did very well. Then, halfway through the second match, a robot came in to our frame perimeter, hit the end of our CAN bus, and just disabled everything on the robot, which then we thought we fixed, but it persisted into the next match, where we were disabled for pretty much the whole match. Then we thought we fixed it again, and we were disabled for the first half of the match. We came back halfway through somehow, and we were able to get the final climb, and we ended up winning that match, surprisingly. The match after that, everything on the robot was breaking because of that CAN issue. We think that one of the wires probably was cut, and that the CAN was grounding itself to the frame. We couldn't play our 4th match in semifinals. We had one of the backup teams come in for us, but after we got it all fixed, we played the final match of our semifinals, and me and Brady were driving. We had the best game of the day. We sadly lost that game because we were playing against the Alliance that won. But we lost that game, got eliminated. But we played 5. We played 4. Our Alliance played 5 real good matches at the semifinals, and we took home the 3rd place, which was pretty fun.
Yeah. One thing. While I was watching, I think qualifier 30, which was the last qualifier that you guys did.
That qualifier was rough because we were paired up with 2 other bots that could only do cubes.
Oh,
So
I
it
see.
was only a cube bot qualifier, and somehow we still held the other. What was the final score? 117 to 100. So
Okay.
yeah, we did pretty. Everything Yeah, that was gonna be a rough match no matter what we did because of the cubes only. One of the teams that we played with that match, I think, actually won though.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say is that for like when I watched, I saw that for a lot of the things, you guys were trying to like pick up cubes, but the intake was sort of like bouncing them around more than it was picking them up.
So that was a thing that we found out. So at the beginning of those first 3 matches, we were doing really well because the intake was nice and fresh. It was picking up perfectly. We could pick up pretty much anywhere on the field, even in open field. And we could intake and outtake really well. Then those last 3 matches, we found out that we noticed that it was bouncing the cubes around a lot more, which was which we couldn't really figure out why. And then before we got picked, we figured out why. It was because the intake was very loose in where it was attached to the rest of the arm, and we were able to tighten that up and also put a not really a cross brace, more of just another connection point in. Just a little kind of, we put a polycub piece on the bottom that also kind of acted as a spring that pulled it down.
Yeah, just some reinforcement, I guess.
Yeah, reinforcement, and it locked it down, and then we didn't have to worry about the intake for the rest of semifinals until the CAN bus error disabled the whole bot.
Yeah, when I was watching, I thought that like maybe you'd gotten a bit too comfortable with it and you were going way too fast or something. But
I think that was probably also part of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
At least by the last match in qualifiers, the intake was just not operational, or not nearly as well working as it was at the beginning of the
Right. Yeah.
At the beginning of the day, but we got around to fixing it by the end.
So how'd you say it went, like, overall?
It was one of the just speaking from what the mentors were telling me afterwards, it was one of the best performances at RUCKUS we've had in a while. I think the last time we had gotten third at RUCKUS once before, years ago. I don't remember what year. And in 2016 with Zoot, which is still considered on the team to be one of our best bots, we got second, and everyone says we maybe would have won, but again, there was a CAN bus error in the last match of finals, which is always rough to know that you lost because of a stupid reason like that.
Yeah, but it's incredible because this was like our second year, like doing a whole another robot just for RUCKUS, and we like the fact that we got close to what we were doing before with like our old robot says a lot.
Yeah, it was it went well, even though we simplified the robot a lot, which probably really helped. If we had done the full elevator system, it probably wouldn't have been as reliable. It would have been not as good if we did the non-cube only hand. But the fact that we picked a lane and stuck to it probably helped us, because then we got picked for what we wanted to be picked as, which was a fast little cube bot, which we weren't little, and we found out because a lot of the bots were a lot smaller than us, but we were fast and we were a cube bot. So
that
was one of the main things that our alliance partners, that was like the first thing they asked us after we got picked. They asked, "How big are you?" And we were like, "Oh, like 30 inches squared." And they were like, "Oh."
Oh, wow.
But it worked out in the end. We got a triple climb the last game, and me and Brady got an 8-cycle game, and which went really well. So that was one of our best games.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was RUCKUS. Other than that, though, we are nearing the end of our FTC build season. Yeah.
So what that means, we don't compete until January, but the FTC after school sports credit ends halfway through November, and then the FLC after school sports credit picks up, because this is how our school runs its sports rotation. But we try to get our bots done before that date, because then when FLC starts, everyone who does FTC and FLC can focus on FLC, and everyone who doesn't do FLC in the winter and only does FTC, they're gone, so they won't be down here nearly as much to be working on stuff. So you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so we're pretty well on our way, I'd say. At least, I mean, I'm sort of seeing both of our teams, and they've been pretty well on their way. One issue that we encountered, actually, I think it was like last night, was that I know we've showed off a robot I think your team's robot before.
We showed
on
off the green
podcast.
team's CAD.
Yeah.
That was a long episode.
Yeah, that was. And one of the main things that we highlighted was our use of these linear actuators here. Right, you can see that.
Yeah.
And so these were sort of like our main thing that we used for like the climb and for like
The dustpan intake we call it the dustpan because that's what we prototyped it off of.
yeah, there's the thing that like sort of pushes it into a corner and then flips
Yeah.
up, right? But unfortunately, at least our sort of the ones that we got, they seem to be malfunctioning for some reason, and that's not good because they're quite an integral part of both of our robots, and so
What are you using the slides on?
we're also doing the climb. So we're only
Oh,
using
with
like
the
a
slides?
yeah.
I thought you were doing it purely off of T slots.
No, we're using these on
Oh.
the T slots.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. If I
Just goes to show how much I know about white team's bots.
I mean, I making an assumption as well here, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that they're also using them. So there's what we ran into is there was sort of an internal disconnect between the like actual motor, like that was in the casing,
servo
yeah,
inside, yeah.
and the actual sort of piston part of it. And so when we tried actually powering it, those the actuator didn't actually extend or retract, but we could hear like the motor inside spinning. And so hopefully we'll get some new actuators.
Can we show the one that you cracked open?
Yeah. So we've got like this model. I don't know how well they can see it, but
Let's go up to the camera.
let's go up to the. Okay.
We're standing. We're moving.
We're moving. Okay. So we've got here the actually I don't know if it's in focus, but basically there's this motor here with a little like
Output.
Phillips head,
Yeah.
or not Phillips head, flathead output that goes into the like shaft that's threaded, and when it spins that, obviously because it's a screw, it just extends or retracts. But the like connection between the motor and the bearing here seems to have been, I don't know if we like while we were testing it we dislodged it or something, but I think that is the reason that it's not working. So hopefully those new ones will show up in time.
We're hopefully transitioning to the Go Builder
Yeah.
actuators.
And hopefully those ones won't break / we won't break them. while testing.
Yeah, it's a very high likelihood that we are the ones who broke that actuator.
Yeah.
We've talked to Studica, who makes them. They've been helping us along with it.
Yeah, they've been very helpful
Yes.
throughout the process.
So.
Other than that though, the build season is coming to a close as FRC is starting. How have our robots been going other than that?
Green team. I speak for green team. Green team has been going very well. The drivetrain is very close to completion. The thing with green team's robot is, unlike last year's bot and white team's, this year's white team bot, the drivetrain, there's not a real separation between the drivetrain and the rest of the bot. It's all kind of built all together. But we have, the drivetrain is done. We are putting on the odometry modules so we can do the cool stuff, which I'm not allowed to tell you about. And then we have the shoulder mount ready for the arm to get mounted to that, but the arm uses the actuator, so we need to wait for the new ones to come in or wait for those ones to get fixed. So we and also we have the control hub and expansion hub on already. Green team's doing a thing this year which we haven't really done in the past, where we like what we started doing this with the summer bots, for the Mario Kart bots, but we're putting a shell over the bot, or not over the bot, but on the sides of the bot to really protect it, kind of like an FLC bumper, but it's like it goes over the majority of the bot.
Yeah.
And that would act as protection, because the expansion and control hub are basically on the outside of the bot, but that shell will cover them up, and they will also be where we put our nameplates and the alliance markers, and yeah. Have we talked about what FTC qualifiers we've been confirmed to go to?
I don't think we have.
And we definitely haven't talked about what FLC qualifiers. We'll use that as our transition. So, we've talked a lot about what events we're going to. I don't think we've talked about what we've been confirmed to go to, but both FTC teams have been confirmed to go to FTC the FTC Finger Lakes qualifier, which we're definitely going to, the FTC Utica qualifier, which we're definitely going to, the FTC Buffalo qualifier, which we're hosting but not competing at, and potentially we are going to the Corning qualifier. If that is a decision that we're going to make closer to when that happens. And then for FLC, we are going to we are going to FLR in Rochester, the Finger Lakes Regional, which is always a fun one because since it's so close, families can come out. That's always a fun one. One of my favorites, I think. Just FLR is a great event. And then one that we've never gone to before. We're going to MVR, Miami Valley Regional, which is in Cincinnati. And the only reason we're going to Cincinnati is because the schedule, since we're hosting 3 events, and the FTC schedule and the FLC schedule really conflict with each other this year. So we had to go to Cincinnati in order to make the schedule work out. Luckily, a couple Buffalo teams that a couple BFF teams actually are going to MVR with us. Rust Belt's, I'm looking at Blue Alliance right now. Rust Belt's going. We're going. The Warlocks are going. And I'm sure there's other Buffalo teams going. I don't see them right now. So yeah, we're going to FLR and MVR this year for FLC. Those are our 2 events. We're looking forward to a fun FLC season, especially after RUCKUS. It's going to be a fun season no matter what happens.
Yeah. One of the things that we're trying to do this season, and we're going to work on it like throughout the years, is trying to get more students involved in like the entire process of building like the robot, because right now we do a lot of the like CAD and the programming and the assembly, but some stuff like electrical, for example, we don't have as much of an influence in, just because we haven't really been trained in that as much, and so that stuff is more left out to the mentors, which isn't ideal. So what we want,
like the design portion of it, like obviously the building is done by whoever can, but
yeah,
the designing of electrical boards have always kind of been has always been not a really fully student-led process.
Yeah.
Unlike the design of the rest of the bot, and especially in programming, especially.
Yeah. And so one thing that we're looking forward to, and we're trying to work towards, is having a team that can fully do a robot from start to finish with like very minimal like mentor assistance on like any part of the process. And so we've been working with some of our mentors at trying to get training for everyone who is involved and interested in those different like sort of processes that we need to do. And so hopefully by the upcoming years we'll be more integrated in all steps of the process, and that'll be fun to see.
Yep. And now for the second biggest question ever. FLC game prediction. Go.
You're putting me on the spot here. I thought you had something for it.
I can go first.
I mean, yeah.
Ask me. My predictions for FLC, as always, it's going to be a water game. I'm fully convinced. In all seriousness, if it is not a water game, since it is called Crescendo, it's a obviously going to be a music-themed game, and we saw from that teaser that first put out a couple days ago that it is going to be music-themed in some capacity. And there was a fan, I don't know how many people know this, but there was a mock FLC review video created by an FLC student years and years ago called Rhythm Remix or something like that. Yeah, Rhythm Remix. And it was a music-based game. And I haven't watched the video recently, so I don't know exactly how it works. But it's a fully like animated video, and it looks like an FLC kickoff video. It's basically it's like where you are shooting and like scoring changes depending on the song that's playing over the game, which is really cool. And I'm not sure they'll do something like that for FLC, but I think there could be something where it's like the game, it changes depending on what sound is playing. So like if a sound plays, you have to score in a different way, and then if like a different sound is playing, it could be something really cool like that. Also, something Mr. Coben said at Words the night afterwards when they announced the game name called Crescendo, is I think it was Mr. Coben. Crescendo is like the rising. You can correct me. You're more music guy than I am. It's like the rising tone, like the rising music.
It's like when you have a sound that's like rising in volume and then it plateaus. That's the like crescendo, I think.
That is, yeah. So it could be Mr. Coben, and I think this is a really interesting interpretation of the name, is the final climb, which FLC loves doing, could be a thing where you have to climb up like steps or something, and then you plateau off at the top. Or that could be, or like the scoring is getting like maybe when a sound plays, the place you're shooting a ball or something is getting higher and higher up, which I think could be really cool. So I think the idea of crescendo, of just whatever you're doing is getting higher and higher and thus harder and harder, is real interesting.
Yeah,
so
that seems a lot like quite dynamic, and especially with like how teams get better over the season, implementing something that not only gets harder, like, and there's more scoring potential like throughout the season, but also like in individual matches seems like a cool thing for them to do. As for me, I mean, I didn't really come prepared with a prediction, but I think that going off of the music theme and going off of the themes of like the FLL and FTC games, it definitely seems like there could be something to do with like both music and like sort of like a live event.
Yeah.
Right, like you could sort of theme it off of Consort maybe, or
what
like
I would love for first to bring back was in 2016 they had the fan vote. The fans would vote what that was Stronghold. The fans would vote what obstacle was put on the field, and I would love for them to bring something like that back to get the fan interaction.
Definitely, yeah.
Back, because then you get a cool thing where it's like, oh, teams know what they're better at, so teams will cheer for a certain thing to be placed on the field so that they know what to and so they know that they can play better. So it really gets the teams excited and the fans excited. So I would love for them to bring something back, especially at like Einstein and stuff, where you have so many people just cheering for one thing to be for like the cheering and voting for what the final match of Einstein is going to look like. It seems so fun. So I would love for them to bring something like that back.
That definitely sounds cool, and I think we are coming up on time here, but I think the one thing that we can hope for is definitely some sort of like shooting game. I think that you'd be interested in that, especially since
shooting game would be nice because they're easy.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, and also you did want one for FTC, and you didn't really get one. So
so from the beginning of the school year, I've been saying I wanted an FTC shooting game and a non-shooting game for FLC. But now since FTC isn't a shooting game, I want a shooting game for FLC. And to be fair, they could throw a curveball at us, because I was certain that the FTC game, being called Center Stage, there would be a big box in the middle that you would have to shoot or do something with. And the majority of the game is played on the back wall of the field, and outside of the field, which I didn't even think they would bring back. So it could be the FLC game being called Crescendo means pretty much nothing. They could throw an absolute curveball and give us a water game.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep our hopes up for both a water game and a shooting game, but I think a water shooting game.
I can't wait for the FLC Game Manual 1 to come out and the rules say boats can only have one motor. Boats can only have can have this horsepower motor. That's gonna be
boats must look like boats.
Boats must look like boats.
Yeah. But that's going to be fun to sort of...
One more thing. Mini-bots. Do it first. Add that to the FLC game. Thank you.
Mini-boats.
No, mini-boats.
Mini-boats.
That's the water game. Instead of mini-bots that climb up a rope, you got a mini-boat that goes across the field.
Yeah. You got to send out a whole squadron across the water. That would be fun.
Instead of paper planes, it's paper boats.
Yeah.
Whichever one sinks last wins.
That would be fun. Well, I think that's about all we have planned for today.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.